fans think of classic WrestleMania matches, they usually think of great singles clashes with maybe the odd multi-person encounter thrown in there for fun. What they don't usually think of is tag matches, as the showcase of the Immortals doesn't usually give prominence to this stipulation. Today we are going to overturn that injustice and spotlight some of the best team-based tussles Mania has ever seen. But like any good tag match, this list has rules. We are counting any bout where both teams could physically make tags to their partners, so whilst multi-team matches do count, ladder matches, TLC, or street fights do not. And unlike most modern tag wrestlers, we'll actually be adhering to these guidelines. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 greatest tag team matches in WrestleMania history. Join us! Number 10, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff at WrestleMania 1. In terms of actual in-ring quality, there's no way that this one should be in the top 10. Part of that is because 1/4 of the participants was a TV actor who had a genuine fear of being knocked out by a bloke in a kilt. However, if we're talking matches that are integral to the very fabric of WWE itself, then there is no way we couldn't discuss the main event of the very first WrestleMania. This bumper tag team bout appealed to wrestling fans because it featured two men who were engaged in a white-hot feud over the world title, champion Hulk Hogan and challenger Rowdy Roddy Piper. To the uninitiated, this match had the appeal of Mr. T, a pop culture sensation at the time. Mr. Wonderful may have felt like a fourth wheel, but he was no slouch and really helped hold the whole thing together. Though the action itself could best be described as just about average, the audience didn't care one bit, as the sight of these four titans in the same place at the same time was enough to help launch WWE into the stratosphere. Number 9, the British Bulldogs versus the Dream Team at WrestleMania 2. 1 year on from the first Mania, the second one decided to go completely mental and spread itself across 3 separate venues in 3 different cities. The end result was a largely rotten show that must have been an absolute nightmare to have to sit through live, but at least the Rosemont Horizon portion of the crowd got to see this lovely little match. Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, collectively known as the Dream Team, had been World Tag Team Champions for ages by the time Mania 2 rolled around. These devilish heels had beaten everyone in their path, but they were about to come up against one of the strongest forces known to man, 2 blokes from the north of England. May God have mercy on their souls. Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, aka the British Bulldogs, were an extremely popular act long overdue their time in the sun. In this fun, energetic display, the English lads knocked off the champs to win their first and only set of tag titles, with none other than Ozzy Osbourne in their corner at ringside. By modern standards, this is perhaps nothing special, but by the standards of WrestleMania 2, this was like Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin or something. Number 8, Team Angle versus Los Guerreros versus Chris Benoit and Rhino at WrestleMania 19. Sometimes it's not about how long you can go for, it's about what you can do in the time you're given. What? What's so funny about that? Oh, grow up. At WrestleMania 19, the WWE Tag Team Championship match was given less than 9 minutes, which should have reduced any chances it had of being great. But then again, just look at the talent involved here. Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, Chris Benoit, Rhino, Eddie, and Chavo Guerrero. That's not a bad group of pro wrestlers now, is it? With Benjamin and Haas defending the belts against the Guerreros, the Rabid Wolverine, and the Man Beast, there was plenty of opportunity for some stellar technical grappling. Then, when that had run its course, Rhino would run in, bulldoze someone, and then get out again, simple as. Because they knew their time was short, the 6 men skipped straight into the high-energy stage of this bout, which resulted in a fast-paced yet sound match that was eventually won by Team Angle. This excellent encounter might have been even higher up on this list if given more time to develop, but I guess the Miller Lite Catfight girls really needed those extra minutes. Number 7, Evolution versus the Rock and Sock Connection at WrestleMania 20. Mick Foley spent the early part of 2004 doing what he loves best, being kicked down some stairs by Randy Orton. Hang on, it turns out he didn't like that. It's hard to tell with Mick sometimes, isn't it? Fed up with the Legend Killer and the rest of Evolution's constant mockery, Foley decided to pick up the phone and give Hollywood a call. Since Danny DeVito was busy, he had to settle for his old buddy, The Rock, making a comeback to save the day. A reunited Rock and Sock connection took on Orton, Batista, and Ric Flair at WrestleMania 20 with the odds firmly stacked against them. Fans were over the moon to see the cherished team back together and at the chance to see them mix not just with the two youngsters but also with the Nature Boy too. Despite their best efforts, the faces were overwhelmed by the heelish odds and lost, but this was still a really fun match with lots of historical significance behind it. Also, it led to the Orton-Foley blow-off at Backlash, which was class. Number 6, the Usos versus The Bar versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev versus Aleister Black and Ricochet at WrestleMania 35. You would be forgiven for forgetting there even was a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania, as it was almost completely buried under the mountain of other stuff that happened on this long night. The third of the 12 main card matches at Mania, or 7th of the full 16 if you want to be a sadist and count the pre-show, pitted the champs, a pre-bloodline Jimmy and Jey Uso, against 3 hopeful pairs, Sheamus and Cesaro of The Bar, the International Union of Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, and recent NXT call-up team and Dusty Classic winners Ricochet and Aleister Black. Despite once again being a little bit hampered by time, these 8 lads only got 10 minutes, the teams went all out to deliver a match that was low on story but high on spots and drama. A particular highlight was when Sheamus kept swapping out wrestlers for his 10 beats, while Cesaro swung Ricochet around for a full 60 seconds. That poor man's brains. The Usos retained, but everyone had a jolly good time and, more importantly, could still feel their legs at this point in the evening. Number 5, the Steiner brothers versus the Headshrinkers at WrestleMania 9. Much like WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 9 is also remembered as a mostly bad time, with the final image of Hulk Hogan cashing in his "that doesn't work for me, brother" in the bank contract permanently seared into many fans' memories. But don't sleep on everything that happened in Caesar's Palace that night, otherwise you will miss this hidden gem. As a tag team, Rick and Scott Steiner were only in WWE for about 2 years, with this being their one and only WrestleMania appearance. Their opponents were the equally hard-hitting Headshrinkers, made up of Samu and the future Rikishi, Fatu. That's right, Big Papa Pump and the man who popularized the stink face once had a WrestleMania match. What a world. These two big boy teams had great chemistry together, able to get the best out of each other by delivering hard strikes and some genuinely frightening looking moments, like when Scott got sent flying over the top rope head first. The brothers from Michigan eventually got the win after a Frankensteiner from Freakzilla, but this was an excellent display of tandem grappling from both crews. If only the rest of the show had been this good. Number 4, the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders versus Alpha Academy versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman at WrestleMania 39 Night 1. When it was announced that WrestleMania 39 would feature 2 tag team showcases, one for the men and one for the women, fans lamented this lazy booking and prepared themselves for a pair of piss breaks. Little did we know that the first of these matches would absolutely slap. The 4 men's teams in question were the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Dawkins, Alpha Academy's Chad Gable and Otis, Eric and Ivar of the Viking Raiders, and little and large themselves, Ricochet and Braun Strowman. With only 8.5 minutes to play with, these teams left no fat on the bone, putting on a manic tag team display for the ages. The big powerful men did big powerful things, the high flyers flew around the ring like kamikaze moths, and Chad Gable broke all the rules by giving the Chaos Theory German suplex to the monster among men. Ford and Dawkins got the win in what was a pointless yet highly entertaining demonstration of what great wrestlers can do if you just let them cut loose. Number 3, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison at WrestleMania 37 Night 1. Remember the days when celebrities would turn up at WrestleMania, stink up the joint and then leave? Bad Bunny remembered, and he was not about to join that list. The Puerto Rican rapper, who has sold more records than you can even think of, first got involved with WWE by appearing at the 2021 Royal Rumble, where he crossed paths with The Miz. Over time, Miz got his lackey John Morrison involved, whilst Bunny turned to good old Damian Priest for help, leading to this bumper battle in Tampa, Florida. Nobody could figure out how Bunny was going to perform. He was a musician, not an athlete, and it wasn't like he was a hulk of a man either. But when the bell rang, we were all put in our places. is. Bunny was sensational, working the match like a pro and showing a natural affinity for the grab game that many actual wrestlers would kill for. Also, and we can't not mention this, he did a bloody Canadian destroyer on the floor. How many other Grammy winners can do that? Maybe Adele? A great match on its own, but even nicer because it was such a pleasant surprise. Number 2, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. According to us, the second best tag team match in WrestleMania history featured a woman having her debut match, another woman who has never wrestled full time, and 2 middle-aged men. We are so getting cancelled for this, and you have to say rightfully so. After much speculation, Ronda Rousey finally showed up in WWE at the 2018 Royal Rumble, leading to this eventual clash with Stephanie McMahon and her husband, Triple H. With Kurt Angle in her corner, making his WrestleMania return after 12 years away, Rowdy Ronda set out to take down the Authority once and for all, and by God did she do it in a highly entertaining way. This match was sports entertainment at its very best, with everyone knowing their role and that was more about the spectacle, the storytelling, and the occasion than it was about being a technical masterclass. Here were 4 clearly defined characters conveying their motives and emotions through physical movements. It was melodramatic, it was sometimes hilarious, and it was exactly what a big WrestleMania match should be. Also, if you didn't feel vindicated when Rousey damn near snapped Steph's arm off for the win, then I don't know if this whole wrestling malarkey is for you. Number 1, the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 39 Night 1. Some matches on this list have great in-ring action, while some have a great story driving them. This one had both, in spades. The 2 main event matches from WrestleMania 39 were united by the thread of the bloodline. In this one from the first night, Jimmy and Jey Uso were putting their record-breaking tag team title reign on the line against 2 men whom they had grievously wronged in the recent past, Kevin Owens and the recently redeemed Sami Zayn. With many months of context, memories, and emotion to back them up, these 4 left everything between the ropes with so much more than just the belts at stake. This was about the bloodline fighting to survive and the good guys battling to tear them down. In one of the most powerful Mania moments ever, Zayn finally got one over on his old nemesis Jey, pinning the Uso brother with 3 hellacious haluva kicks to end the match, end the reign, and end Mania Night 1 on the highest of highs. That is some story you've finished there, mate. Over to you, Cody.